how epic was the GOAT of all roasts, the Tom Brady roast live on Netflix, where I've seen nothing but highlights. You've played several of them for me. You were coming in today saying it crushed based on expectation. Did it not?
It was awesome. It was really good. And I'm here to tell everyone cancel culture is dead. It's over, at least in comedy. I think when you combine the roast of Tom Brady last night with Jerry Seinfeld's comments about comedy becoming too woke and how people perceive it has killed cancel culture. It's over. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Last night during the roast of Tom Brady, I heard an F word to describe homosexuals. I heard the R word to describe disabled people. I heard words I thought were taboo for the last 10 to 20 years being said and being laughed at during the course of the night. I'm here to tell you, if all of that stuff passes, which I found pretty much everything last night to be hilarious, cancel culture's dead. It's over, Hutton. It's done. And that's what I felt last night watching it.
So many laughs at the GOAT's expense, right, at Tom Brady. But it was more about what Bill Belichick, who was going after the Patriots. You had Brady opening up to Deflategate. Did I hear this right?
Well, Brady essentially admitted to Deflategate. The joke was something about if I knew that the fine was going to be $20 million, I would have just told the NFL for us not cooperating. He said, I'd have said, NFL, why don't you pay me, the Patriots, or someone pay me $20 million, and I'll just admit that I did it, is what he said. And I'll tell everyone what happened, that I did it. It was very funny. The Belichick stuff was good.
He did a shot with Robert Kraft.
He did a shot with Robert Kraft. He looked way more reluctant than Robert Kraft did to take the shot. When I say take a shot, Belichick kind of barely sipped the rim of the shot glass. Brady took a shot with him at one point. Robert Kraft came up and took a shot with him.
How many shots do we think Bill Belichick has had?
It was very good. I'll say this. 2 people bombed. And I get very uncomfortable when someone bombs in that setting.
Yeah.
I don't like watching it, and I kind of fast-forwarded through 2 different parts that I thought were really bad. Randy Moss was bad.
Which surprises me.
Randy Moss was really bad, and the Ben Affleck part of it was really bad. Ben Affleck, though, felt like he was kind of forced out there as part of some contract with Netflix.
As part of whatever many appearances he makes.
Well, it felt like he literally got out of a car service, walked backstage, walked onto the stage of the Forum.
Made his appearance.
And he kind of started joking about how he was bombing as it was going. He even made a joke off stage. He still had his mic on. Kevin Hart said something, and he said, I've never wanted commercials worse on Netflix than right now, saying that he wishes that would have been a commercial break instead of him taking the stage at that point. Everyone else crushed. I thought Nikki Glaser was unbelievably good. She got a standing ovation. And I played her part for you earlier.
She crushes, man.
Tony Hinchcliffe. Didn't know who this guy was. Kill Tony is the podcast.
Okay. Oh, I learned today.
Tyler Castle's a huge fan. Hinchcliffe. Tony Hinchcliffe. Again, microphones. Davey, anytime. You can chime in with a microphone if you'd
Hinchcliffe.
like. Tony Hinchcliffe. He was hilarious. He went through and just summarily roasted everyone on the dais. I thought Drew Bledsoe killed it.
Dana White did in his 60
was
seconds.
amazing. Dana White was good. Dana White's also bitching today that he didn't have more time, that he should have gotten more time from Netflix to roast him. I thought everyone was good. Peyton Manning was the last roaster of the night.
Okay.
It was standard Peyton Manning fare. Nothing too bad, nothing dirty, no cuss words, but really good, really well-timed out jokes.
I did not expect Gronk to be good. You said he was great.
Gronk was good. Gronk was funny because the funniest contribution he made was just being there, and all of the dumb jokes about Gronk all night.
Right at him. And he could take a joke.
Was awesome. He was so good, and him just sitting. But it's not even him taking a joke. He didn't understand the jokes about him. Like the cutaway shots were Randy Moss and Kevin Hart and Tom Brady cracking up at jokes about Gronk, while Gronk just stood, kind of looking around like, did they say something about me? I don't even know. And them trying to get them to explain the jokes to Gronk, really good. But his portion was funny. One of the jokes that wasn't his funniest, he said afterward, he's like, I actually wrote that one on my own, so I'm not as dumb as all of you think I am. See? It was really good. Julian Edelman was great. I knew he would be.
Bledsoe.
Bledsoe was awesome. Bledsoe really surprised me in how good he was. I would go in order of what really jumped out to me. Tony Hinchcliffe
Okay.
was awesome. I would go him one. I'll go a tie. Hinchcliffe, Nikki Glazer, tied for the best. Drew Bledsoe. After that, I think Julian Edelman is way up there. Ron Burgundy made an appearance. It was funny. Wasn't one of the best things of the night, but really good.
How was
and
Brady?
I'll give props to where props are due. Kevin Hart, who I'm not a huge fan of Kevin Hart. I don't think any of his movies are any good. I don't really like his stand-up. He was good. He was good at being the roast master and rolling with what people were saying and coming up and just making up jokes on the spot of what was happening. He went pretty hardcore at Giselle with a jiu-jitsu instructor at Tom Brady to open up. So I think that kind of knocked the top off of it, where everything was fair game. I mean, there were, everything from Giselle with the jiu-jitsu instructor to Aaron Hernandez suicide jokes. Everything you could think of.
They talked more about Aaron Hernandez there than they did in any Patriots behind-the-scenes footage, for sure.
Brady joked about it.
Yeah, Brady even.
I mean, the only person who didn't was I think that Belichick actually did have a side comment.
Something about tight ends?
About the tight end room. Belichick was pretty funny.
How many star athletes, either currently playing or retired, could do what Brady did last night? Because, and I bring this up because if you watch the ESPYs, which none of us do, but years ago, if you watch the ESPYs, athletes can't sit there and take a joke about anything. They don't laugh. They don't smile. They just stare at the stage, by and large. And many of the hosts aren't asked back because of that. How many athletes could sit there and take that?
I think plenty could. I don't know many that would. They paid a lot of money to Tom Brady to do that also. And the people up there, I think, made some money to be there.
Think about LeBron doing that. I can't imagine LeBron doing that.
LeBron wouldn't be able to do it. I would say, and I'm saying all these things, someone's going to search and there's going to be someone that they've actually roasted this person. I didn't know about it. Has there been a roast of Peyton Manning? Because Tom Brady referenced a roast of Peyton Manning that I don't remember.
But Manning could do it.
Peyton Manning could handle it. I also think Peyton Manning he could handle it. Michael Jordan would be hilarious.
Yes.
But, he's going to take it very personal.
I feel like Barkley's been roasted.
Barkley, I think, has been roasted. There's just not many.
There's not many.
There's not many superstars to Tom Brady's level in sports that makes for the perfect roast that everybody gets the references. Right? So even when you bring up Bill Belichick and Julian Edelman, you can sell out the LA Forum.
Well, you could do
with
that
that
now.
Many people, and everyone gets the football references.
You could do that with Mahomes and Kelsey.
Yep.
Now you could.
Yep.
How many others could?
But it's still not going to be nearly as good until 2 years after they're retired.
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's more stories behind everything. But like I don't know if there's any other current players like that where you could just drop in a name and go live.
There's not many. It was
Aaron
really
Rodgers,
well done.
you could do Aaron Rodgers.
It was 2 hours and 40 minutes, and there wasn't many bad acts throughout the whole
And they didn't cut away from
performance.
anything, right? It was just straight through.
Oh, they didn't cut away from anything.
That's awesome.
But I'm telling you, I've seen one negative tweet about it from someone that said, white supremacists find it hilarious. Homophobic people find it hilarious. Netflix has to stop platforming hate on their network and on their streamer. And that's the only thing I've seen. And that's because someone on the right retweeted that person to talk about cancel culture, or I never would have seen the person because I don't follow them. Outside of that, I don't think there's protests today outside of Netflix headquarters like there was after Dave Chappelle's trans stance. None of that. I'm thrilled, Hutton, because I feel like we're back to a place where there was a joke about Israel and Hamas that no one laughed at. That's fine.
That's the only one I heard that wasn't laughed at.
Tony Hinchcliffe, in fact, made the joke, and Jeff Ross laughed at everything about himself, did not laugh at that joke, and not many people there laughed, and that's totally fine. But everything else people laughed at, and if you don't find something funny or you find it offensive, not laughing is fine in the moment. Just don't go online and try to cancel someone because of it. And I'm not seeing any of that today, which I think is great progress.
Okay, how did Randy Moss bomb? That's the last thing I want to know about this, because I'm surprised that he did.
I just got 2 jokes in, and he was just kind of stumbling through it. He misplaced some words. I mean, so much about if you're going to get up there and read from a teleprompter,
you've got to have
you've got to hit the timing and the words right.
Yeah.
And he stumbled through a couple parts of his joke to begin, and it just wasn't great. It was just not good. And honestly, the Gronk stuff, some of it was really dumb, like you would expect. some of his jokes, but his whole delivery was funny because he was just so over the top Gronk while he was up there, and clearly drunk while he was up there presenting. It was great.
And Edelman's always going to be great.
Edelman has a future in comedy. I mean, his delivery,
his podcast is great. His
writing, everything he said, he was working very, very blue with his jokes, and it was funny. He did a great job.
Chad, two things that I just found funny with reports, both really good by Albert Breer. He's got a great column up today about the post-NFL draft response and inside stories. But two that come to mind, I did laugh reading them. First, to keep their quarterback preference a secret, the Broncos draft room was the draft board in the draft room was totally random and not in order of preference. This according to Albert Breer. So you only had Sean Payton, George Payton, and Greg Pinner among the very few who actually knew the official order of quarterbacks on their big board. This idea that they somehow ended up with the quarterback that they wanted the whole time, Bo Nix, is laughable. Now, it was laughable to them. I mean, they're staring. We saw the live feed go to the Broncos draft room where normally if you draft the quarterback of the future, you draft the quarterback that you wanted. There's a celebration going on in some way. You know, high fives, there's hugs, there's laughter, there's fist bumps, whatever. None of the sort here. They're just in bewilderment, just staring straight forward towards the wall or towards a monitor, just watching the pick come in in disbelief that they were the sixth selection among quarterbacks in the 12th overall pick. So the quarterback preference is a secret, and a very few knew the order of preference. And wouldn't you know it, Chad, the quarterback that they wanted, Bo Nix, was just there at 12. Come on. This is not something that the average fan is going to believe. Is it? Is it? Because I see this, read this, and I think, man, if the Broncos fan base, if Broncos country is going to ride with this, what have we become as sports fans? Where you just get away with anything.
Do they have a color code system to denote which quarterback they like? Do they all have them written out in different colors where only the GM and the head coach know?
We only know the
yeah. Green means go. That's our top guy. Was Bo Nix in green the whole time? People just thought that was for Oregon, but actually green means go, that he's the number one quarterback?
Number one.
That's funny that it's just, we had everyone written on the board, but not in order, but we knew the whole time which one was which.
Like, Michael Penix Jr. goes 8, and then J.J. McCarthy goes to the Vikings. It's like, yes, there's Bo Nix. I mean, did you think there was a lot of celebration when the board fell this way?
Yeah.
With the 6th quarterback going 12?
Come on, Chicago. Take Caleb Williams because he's 5th on our board. So let's get him out of the way first.
Get 3 out of the way.
Just going in reverse
Michael
order.
Penix Jr. Yeah, go
the 4th best quarterback just came off good. We still got our number 1 guy waiting.
There's the surprise.
Oh, there's number 3 off the board. All right, we're good. Number 2's up. All right, great. We got our number 1 guy. Here we go.
But that would entail, you would think there would be like celebrating going on based on the way the quarterback board fell. And come on. Just not the case. I would love to see the Raiders quarterback board if that's the case.
I would love to just see brutal honesty.
Well,
after a draft, and it's like, hey, where we were picking, we didn't have our pick of quarterbacks, but we really like what Bo brings to the table.
You had to take him because we saw what happened afterwards.
And we like his possible ability in the league and his ceiling, and we love that we got the guy where we did.
Hey, a lot of
you don't have to
people,
then sell us that he's tops on your board,
right? That's the part that is just how do we get to the point where we have to sell the top pick in a first round, even though it's not the top of the board, falling to us at 12, the 6th quarterback? All you have to say is, well, just look what happened with Spencer Rattler. 137 picks later, Spencer Rattler's off the board. And we had to take a quarterback there based on the way this draft fell. And, oh, by the way, our quarterback room is really bad. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, man, we didn't put an order up on our board. That order that every other board probably looked like, that is probably the real order, Chad. Yeah, that was just a scrambled mess. Just so happened it fell just like the other boards across the league. And then second, this also from Albert Breer in his column. One of the big reasons Kirk Cousins decided to leave Minnesota. Now, if you keep in mind that Kirk Cousins had that Sunday night meeting Saturday night meeting, Sunday morning meeting with the Vikings for like one last ditch effort for the Vikings to try to keep him. And then he ends up, free agency starts, the open negotiation period started that following Monday. He ends up the timing of it, one of the first big signings of free agency, even though it wasn't official until Wednesday. Monday, the news was out. He was taking the big deal, $100 million guaranteed in Atlanta. This from Albert Breer. One of the big reasons Kirk Cousins decided to leave Minnesota this offseason was that the Vikings were straight up with him and told him that they were drafting a quarterback for the future, and they would be drafting that QB very high in the draft. And he didn't want to be a part of that.
So he goes to Atlanta.
$100 million guaranteed. You've got the quarterback room to yourself. You've got Taylor Heineke as your backup. Oh, wait. Oh, the Falcons are calling me. They're on the clock right now. Hey, yeah, we're taking Michael Penix Jr. Click. How does he feel now?
We know what we told you. We know what you signed. But we just couldn't have envisioned Michael Penix Jr. falling to us at 8.
Right.
Where no one had him going off the board that quickly.
And I buy Diana Rossini's report that he was frustrated, upset, not because of the quarterback in the room, but he felt like, yeah, the Falcons told me they could take a quarterback. He just didn't expect it to be number 8 overall quarterback in the NFL draft. Doesn't help him in the immediate future. Doesn't help the Falcons in the immediate future. They drafted someone to start week 1 of 2026 is more or less what they did, not 2024. And I understand the frustration there, even though he might be the nicest guy in the National Football League. 2 stories there about QBs. One that I totally understand from Kirk Cousins' stance, and then from Sean Payton's view, there's no way Bo Nix is atop their boards in any particular order for what they want as a QB in Denver. They never thought it would be down to Bo Nix or Spencer Rattler as the quarterback that they could select 6th in the draft at 12th overall.
Do you think Spencer Rattler was their number 2 quarterback overall on the board? Is that what we're going to hear next?
Maybe it was Joe Milton.
Joe Milton 3rd. You know, their big board looked different than everyone else. It was Bo Nix, Rattler, Joe Milton at 3, then Caleb Williams, and then you get into the other guys that were drafted before.
One of the things that was mentioned, one of the things that was mentioned, I know, one of the things that was mentioned in the report was Bo Nix actually, he probably looked worse throwing the football because he threw after Joe Milton did at the combine. You've got Milton just throwing bombs.
Yeah, Bazooka Joe.
Yeah, and then you've got Nix, who is more or less the
nickel and dimer.
Yeah, the
compared to Joe Milton.
Compared to the arm strength, yeah.
Yeah. Better quarterback, by the way, I would say, Bo Nix.
No doubt.
Overall,
Agreed.
but not the same arm.
Yeah.
But few have the arm of Joe Milton.
Chad, few have the patience of you when it comes to coaching. There are reasons why it's hard to find umpires, refs in this day and age for high school football, middle school, travel league. It could be just your own rec league, church league, whatever. And it's really tough to find the coach that's willing to step up and put the time and effort in to coach these teams. Not necessarily the travel leagues, but just across the board. Just think of whatever your kid, your niece or nephew may be playing, what you played, and the time and energy spent on that team for nothing, for the good of the team, for the good of the kids involved, not for the good of the parents. And Chad, I commend you for having the patience to put up with this.
So, real life experience here. Talked about it a lot. I coach my daughter's 8U travel softball team, so this is a step up from rec ball. This is a travel ball team where the expectation is you're going to go and compete. Notice I said the expectation is you're going to go and compete and be competitive. There's no expectation or guarantee of winning every tournament you enter or always winning. Now, my team, I've been blessed, fortunate enough to have a good group of girls where we've won a lot more than we've lost. We haven't won a championship yet in any tournament, but we're right there on the precipice. We've reached the breaking point of we're in the semifinals, and we are 1 run away from playing for a championship, and we've lost consistently by 1 run. This message is for parents out there, and I fear that the message will not be heard by those that need to take this message in. There's going to be a lot of parents, and there's a lot of really good ones out there that understand it, and they're going to nod their head the entire time when I'm talking about this. Here goes the message. For all of those that want to complain about an entitled generation of kids being raised right now, a lot of the same people complaining about entitlement in kids are willingly making their kids quit mid-season because things aren't going perfectly their way. So it is the parents in that situation that are the problem here. You are creating an entitled generation, not the kids. I've said this before, I'll say it 1,000 times. In youth sports, 99% of the time, the problem are the parents. It's not little kids. I'll give you an example. We lose a game over the weekend, and I'm sitting there talking to our team, and I'm telling them, hey, we're a good team. We're not yet a great team. I never said it's going to be easy to go from good to great. We went from nothing, from starting a team, to becoming a good team. We can compete with some of the very best teams in our area. But to get over the hump and become a great team, it's going to be difficult, and we're finding it to be difficult. But I want every single one of you to know that you're not a failure. No one failed today. We lost a close game. Could we have played better? Absolutely. Should we win this game next time? I think so. But you got to go home knowing that we still are making positive strides, even though we didn't win the game. And the response I got from the girls on our team was mainly a lot of blank, tired stares back at me at the end of a long day. Why? Because they're little kids.
Yeah.
These are children. My job as a coach in youth sports at any time, and I tell every parent that I talk to before I coach their child, is that at the end of this experience, I want them loving the game and wanting to come back and play again. If there is one child that ends a summer with me that says, I hate this sport, I hate what it does, I hate everything about it, I want to get away from it, then I have failed. But what every youth sports coach needs are parents on their side and everyone pulling in the same direction to make sure that their child wants to continue playing. And if the parents are going to be on the child about everything and making it less enjoyable for them, there's going to be a problem. We had a girl that, and I love this girl on our team, her parents decided after our tournament on Saturday that they were done with our team. 2 months into a 5-month season, 3 months left, made the decision, said, hey, I don't feel like my child's being developed well enough, so we're going to go, okay? Shake hands and leave. Is that the message, though, that we want to send to our kids? That I'm unhappy as a parent. I don't like the way things are going. Did you ask your child? And this is not a specific complaint about any one person. I would say this to every parent. Are you talking to your kid about what they like and what they want? Because I had my kid crying on the way home because she lost a teammate. And that's what she cared about, was the teammate, because she liked hanging out with a teammate. And that's what most of these kids like to do. They like to hang out and play with their friends in between games because they're kids. My one plea is to talk with your kids before making a decision like this. Make sure that if you do something like this, there's something really bad that's going on with how a coach is coaching someone or something else. And look in the mirror and honestly ask yourself, is this a problem for my child or is this a problem for me? Because I've had this conversation with multiple parents, and I can be guilty of it also. We as parents take it worse when our kids lose or fail in a sport than the kid does. And you have to separate the two. It's not us playing out there. We were all kids once too. Kids are resilient. They get over it. There's the exception to the rule. We have girls on our team that take it very hard if they're not doing great. And that's personally on them. No parents putting that pressure on them. They put that pressure on themselves. You've got to work with them on the opposite side of that to make sure they have the confidence and understand they're not failing anyone when they do it. But just honestly ask yourself the question, is this about me or is it about them? And that question can start with a question to your kids on whether or not they're having fun, getting better, and want to keep playing the sport. And Hutton, that's a message I hope is received by the right people, and that a few people nod their head and say, yeah, I probably need to do a better job of doing that. There are times where when I'm coaching, I want to throw a fit. I want to throw my glove. I want to do something when something doesn't go our way. But I have to ask myself, what is that showing the kids on our team?
Okay. What I'm trying to wrap my head around is, and I don't have kids here, so I can't relate to.
But you were a kid.
But I
so
was,
you
yeah.
can talk about it.
But I've seen other parents and how they act. And I was an umpire as well. in high school and early years of college. I hated it because of the parents.
Oh, I hated it too, and I did the same thing when I was younger.
Did we quit at the rate I hear about kids quitting now?
I don't think so.
I don't remember nearly. I mean, of course I saw teammates quit, but not nearly at the high rate that I hear about now. I don't see it, but that I hear about now. You would know. I mean, let's just take your team out of it. Do you see opponents,
yes.
players quitting like this?
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of grass is always greener on the other side. I'm going to leave this team because, my kid can go play this position that I want them to play, not even that they necessarily want to play, that I want them to play on another team.
Right.
Or I think I'm going to go somewhere else and win more with this other team, so we're going to do this.
But that normally wouldn't happen after a game, like in this scenario, in this example.
Right.
That would happen before you travel to wherever you were playing the game that weekend.
That would, yeah. Ideally, you wouldn't do this and put another team in a bad spot with a lack of players.
Right.
Not that, there's not other people that we could ask to step up and play on our team. Yeah. We'll be fine numbers-wise, just personally. But I don't think it happens the same way. And I'll also say this. There's differences among the generations. I do think that this was happening when we were young and we all knew the kid that had those parents. Right?
Yeah.
I think you and I were blessed with parents that were very good about this.
I wasn't allowed to quit. Yeah.
I couldn't quit a team. We could be 0-25. And I'm going to stick with that team and honor the commitment until the end of the season. And then we can talk about something different. And also, my mother was very good about this. She never took my side over a coach that she thought was doing their best. Now, I didn't get in this situation as a kid, but if there was a coach who was verbally abusive or not doing a good job, insulting, or willfully lazy or whatever,
over the line,
then maybe my mom would have said something or been different.
Same.
But if the coach was doing their best, even if my parents disagreed with the coach and where they played me in the field or where they batted me in the line or whatever, I never knew about it. They never once publicly talked about it with each other around me. And the answer to me was always, well, do better. Try harder and you're going to be better. I wish, now that I'm a parent, I appreciate that about my parents and my mom. I wish more parents operated that way.
But the parents now are from our generation.
And that's,
that were raised the way you're describing, at least, and I'm thinking of parents and instances that I've heard of friends of mine who I went to high school or college with, right?
Yeah.
That would not have done that then, that are now allowing it to happen now. And I'm not sure how that evolved to where the way we were brought up in the leagues we played in, the teammates of ours that were in those same leagues are now parents allowing this or encouraging this to happen.
Well, and that's what makes me think, are we the entitled generation? Because we're the ones raising kids today, right? So I don't feel like I am, but I do feel like our generation is guilty at times when you watch youth sports today. And I know that stuff like this has happened forever. And I'm not saying that this is new to everything, but I do get really angry whenever I see a situation that is just unacceptable from parents in youth sports, that oftentimes when you talk about it with someone else, and I'm sure you hear this too, with friends or whoever, well, that's just travel ball. I get that response so often. Well, that's just travel ball. It's been that way. It'll always be that way. And I think, well, it doesn't have to be that way. I don't want it to be that way on my team that I coach. And if that's just the norm, I'll step aside. And I'll, go somewhere else where it's not the norm, or I'll find a situation where it's not, because I'm a firm believer that there are enough good parents out there that will parent the way my parents parented me in sports, that aren't always going to be on the coach or aren't always going to be trying to get their kid to quit to go to some other situation they think is better when there's truly no perfect situation. I don't buy that as an excuse that it's just travel ball. It doesn't have to be. If every other parent steps up and says, yeah, this is ridiculous. If you don't like it, leave. And good luck finding another team. Because other good parents aren't going to put up with this. I'm not buying that as an excuse anymore, and I think more people shouldn't as well.
Well, by the way, I'm sure you have parents on your team, just like everyone would have and it can relate to, that are exactly like we're describing.
I have great parents on my team. There's.
It's always the one or the ones.
Most parents on my team are great. We can have conversations. We can laugh together. We can celebrate together. We can do all these things. I just think 99% of the problem, and I've got parents who've admitted this to me, and I think every parent, if they're being honest, can admit it, that too often emotions take over, and the parent's reaction to a close loss or a tough moment where their kid pops out to lose the game or whatever, makes the error, they internalize that more than the child. And that's where you have to take a step back and say, what's best for the kid? Is this becoming too important to me, the wins and losses? And every parent has to ask themselves, what's important to them? I would argue that if what is most important to you is simply winning when your kid is 8 or 9, then you're thoroughly missing the point. Because what should be important is if you want them to keep playing that sport, or you think they have a future in it, or they want to keep playing it, and it could be beneficial to their life and them growing up, you want them to continue loving it, continue wanting to get better, and work at it. That's it. That's it. Competing is great. Competing does not equal winning. You want your kid to be competitive and their team to be competitive. I would want that for my child too. I don't expect to win every game. I want them to be in a competitive situation where they're going to have fun and want to get better and want to learn the game. That's what it's about, especially when you're talking about 8, 9-year-olds. And I think far too many parents miss that point.
You know what? We are from the era, though, where the fan base is now, and it started, I feel like, with our group, our generation, Chad, of the crazy over-the-top fans that will talk crap to recruits, you know, that don't choose said university, or, you know, the message board fodder, which is sometimes can be great and hilarious. Sometimes it's way over the top and ridiculous. You know, storming fields in a good way and a bad way, going at players and coaches, wanting coaches fired after 3 years in a situation, you know, that win now mentality. That is from our group. And by and large, those are also parents, you know, that are then treating youth sports in the same way. And the same mentality and approach.
Do you know who I find to be the most level-headed of parents? And you're right. We are of that generation that started changing into that. The most level-headed parents are parents where one of the two or both played highly competitive sports, usually through college, even or professionally. They take the most level-headed approach when their kids are young with sports because they've seen it at a highly competitive level, and they know this isn't the time for it.
Right.
Right? I took my daughter to see the Lady Vols play, and the pitching coach of Lady Vols sat down and told us, don't worry about anything but getting better and having fun until 14U softball. That's when you can honestly start to look at it and say,
until high school.
Am I going to be a high school player, a good player, or a college player? Until then, just have fun learning the game and practicing it, and none of that matters. That is the perspective so many parents need to understand. I joke all the time. Good friend of ours that we saw recently joked about this with his daughter playing competitive sports. This is a guy who played college football at the highest level that says there's dirty looks to parents of kids that make a mistake in a game from other parents, and that his response is always, well, good thing the college scouts aren't here to watch our girls today in this 10U tournament or whatever the age is. Good thing we don't have the college scouts out here watching them. That is the perspective that's needed more and more in youth sports. I don't care if it's rec or travel, and I'm tired of the excuse of, well, that's travel ball. Can't we be better?
We should be.
But we should be better. I don't accept that. I know there's a bad egg in every batch, and that's going to happen. And sometimes there is addition by subtraction from teams because of that. It doesn't always have to be that way. If more people stand up and speak out against it, the better it's going to get.
Well said. Matt Pinfield expected to join us in a couple of minutes here, plus Tom Luganbill later in today's show. Tommy Lahren, she's fearless. She's going 5 days a week, starting a week from today, May 13th, 5 days a week right here at OutKick.com/watch. You can catch Tommy 5 days, and each weekday, new start time of 1 p.m. Eastern, moving from the later time slot, 1 p.m. Eastern, beginning a week from today. Tommy Lahren, live each and every weekday at OutKick.com/watch.